That's spicy. Jimmy Garoppolo on there could be a benefit, but have they kind of burned that bridge?
We'll say this. Gardner Minshew is the best backup in the NFL.
I love Gardner.
Welcome to 30 Minutes of Football, presented by Legit Football. As you can see, I am not Brian McNair, Legit Football. I'm Anthony Wayne, and I'm stepping in for Brian. I have a guest here. His name is Kevin Phillip Fox. He was on our show, 11 Yards Podcast, on Wednesday, talking about Thanksgiving games. How are you, Kevin?
Dude, I'm doing terrific, man. Very excited to talk about this exciting slate of NFL games today.
It's a very exciting slate. I think there's some really good matchups, and it's really going to define which teams are real and which teams are going to look like they're going to make the playoffs this year. And I think it's going to be, I think this is a very crucial week because we're past the halfway mark, but we're not far enough into the season to call it over. So we're just gonna do what we usually do on Fridays, and we're gonna pick the games. I'm gonna have Pro Football Demons picks and Brian's picks up on the screen for everyone to see. So let's get his picks up.
Boom.
All right. And so I'm going to set a timer, and this is how it works. Once the 30 minutes is up, we're done.
Love it.
30 minutes of football starts now.
Oh, that's dope. That's so dope.
It's started. So this slate I'm going to put up on the screen. These are my picks right here. Oh, these are actually Brian's picks right here. And so Brian did pick Detroit to cover against Buffalo, Dallas to cover,
Smart.
and England to cover. But we're not talking about Thanksgiving. We covered that on Wednesday. So let's get right into it. The first game we have is Denver at Carolina. Kevin, your thoughts? Who's going to win this game?
Yeah, so this is a game where you pick either team and it's accompanied with a groan or a sigh or a yuck. Both of these teams are wildly not fun to watch. They play inefficient football. I'm picking Denver to cover the spread, but it doesn't feel good because Russell Wilson has just been a disaster all season.
I mean, it's been. I mean, do you think Nathaniel Hackett is on the hot seat, or can we put the blame on Russell Wilson?
I think it's a shared blame. I think everybody over there needs to take some of the accountability, but I think there's no question Nathaniel Hackett has shown that he is very far from being a competent NFL head coach. I'm not saying he never can get there, but he's not there right now, and I would be surprised if he lasted another season, but we'll see. Stranger things have happened in the NFL.
That's true. But when you have a top 5 defense with an offensive-minded coach, you're not going to win just because you sign a star quarterback. You know, you have to implement him into your own offense, and you have to utilize that defense, that cutthroat defense that wins games. I mean, the offense doesn't even win. The games that they have won, the 3 games they've won, the defense won those games.
Yeah, Russell Wilson looks like a shell of himself. It's so sad to watch because he was one of my favorite players in Seattle. Him with the Legion of Boom, that was such a great era of football. Like he was great. He seemed like a big piece of the puzzle. And I mean, I don't know. I've just never seen a fall from grace quite as, dramatic and over the top. And I mean, the guy needs to start realizing that his shtick is not working. It's unfortunate because he's very much doubling down on his persona. And I'm just like, ooh, I don't know if this is the right move, buddy.
So Brian has Denver covering. I have Carolina covering.
Wow.
I personally think that Denver is in such a bad spot. Carolina benches Bakerfield can actually score some points, and that defense can stop Russell Wilson because it's not very hard to stop him.
I think Sam Darnold is starting this game, dude.
He is, okay. Sam Darnold. So considering that, maybe
that could be a spark.
I might want to stick with that then. I might want to stick with Carolina covering that.
It could be a spark, but it also could be a disaster. It's gonna be exciting to watch, but it won't be pretty to watch. It's gonna be one of those games that's kind of like a train wreck where you don't want to look away, but also you don't want to stare directly at it.
True. Yeah, just have in the background. So Pro
Right?
Football Demon does have Carolina covering in this game, so him and I agree. And
Wow.
Brian and you agree with Denver. So the next game is a 4.5 spread. Atlanta at Washington, and I think Atlanta is favored.
So no, I think Atlanta's
Oh,
the dogs, right?
Yeah, Washington's favored. My bad. So
So
Washington's favored at Atlanta.
who's picking what? Give me the rundown.
Oh, that's right. So Brian is picking Atlanta to cover against Washington.
Wow.
I'm going to go with Washington on this one.
Yeah.
Pro Football Demon says Washington as well.
Yeah, I got Washington
So we're
covering 4.5. It's a little rich for my blood, given that Washington is still starting Taylor Heineke at quarterback, and they still kind of have, but their defense is ascending, which is exciting because a lot of people thought that their defense for years would be so great. They thought it would be this force, and it hasn't really materialized quite yet, but it's looking like it might the rest of the season. And Heineke provides a lot more stability at the position than Carson Wentz. I mean, talk about a fall from grace. Oh my goodness, Carson Wentz is a disaster. Falcons play better when they're
Jamerus
the underdog.
58 Gilliam says the Falcons play better when they're the underdogs.
That's a really interesting
That's
point.
true. When they're up against a team that they're supposed to beat, they'll get a lead and then they'll blow it. But when they're against a team they're not supposed to beat, sometimes they will come out the win.
I wish I had Jimmy Ray here so I could ask him what the Falcons' record is against the spread, man. Having a stat guy is different, man. It's different.
True. Oh, true. So Cordero Patterson is definitely a difference maker, and I think that's going to be a lot. I mean, they ended up being the Bears because of that kickoff return from Patterson.
Unbelievable.
Washington can slow Cordero Patterson down. I'm not sure Mariota can find the end zone very much. And Taylor Heineke is now clearly their starter, and he's killing it. Like that man is something else, and we weren't expecting that. He came up from the bottom, and now he's in the middle, and he's on his way to the top. So I
came
think
up from the bottom, and now he's in the middle. That's a great quote.
So the defense is looking better in Washington. I just think that they'll come up on top in this one. The spread is sort of low. I think they're going to win by a touchdown, beat that 4.5 spread, and I think it's going to be a good game.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one. I'm Washington all the way. I'm surprised. I'm actually surprised people are picking Atlanta. I mean, Atlanta's found a way all season, so maybe they continue to find a way. But I just don't see it happening with the Commanders' ascending defense. I just don't see it.
So the next game is Miami and Houston. We don't have to dig too deep into this one because it's a 12.5 point spread. Miami is favored by almost 2 touchdowns, touchdown and a field goal, and Houston would beat the spread. So I have a question. Can Houston slow down Miami enough to cover, or is Miami just going to go balls out and just put up a whole bunch of points and be up like 4 possessions by the fourth quarter? What's going to happen here?
I have a couple of thoughts here. I mean, obviously, it's pretty clear that Miami's the pick to win the game. As a Bills fan, sorry, Brian, I'd love to see Miami lose this game. I don't see it happening. It doesn't seem like the kind of game that this regime is going to drop. I think this is a really competent regime. So I think McDaniel and Tua and Waddle and Hill, and I think they're going to put it together for 4 quarters. I think they're going to cover the spread. I would see this game being something like a 38-10 sort of thing. Like that would be like in the range of like what I see happening. Buffalo's been in this scenario a couple of times where their starters don't even play the fourth. I don't know if it gets that crazy, but I could see them pulling away late to the point where they might have the luxury of allowing Tua and Hill and the big dogs some rest in the fourth. But we'll see. But I think Miami covers.
Me too. I mean, think about this. They're coming off of a bye. They are well rested. And they're ready to play. They had a week off. They love football so much they didn't want that week off. So they're ready to go out and play. They're going to deliver it to Houston. Mm-hmm. So next game we have is Tennessee and Cincinnati. This one is one of the better games because both of these teams have winning records. They're both in the top 10 in our power rankings. So it's a 1.5 point spread. Who's covering?
I'm actually really excited to pick this game and talk about this game, but I do want to ask, did Brian and Pro Football Demon agree with us on Miami? Did everybody pick them to cover?
Oh, yes. Everybody picked Miami to cover.
Yep. Yeah, that's what I figured. For this game, I'm not going to lie to you, man. 1.5 points. This might be an upset. I kind of smell a Tennessee dub right here. I'm not gonna lie. I think they've been putting it together. What 6 of 7 or something ridiculous along those lines for Tennessee. I definitely could see Derrick Henry getting himself going in this game. Like I definitely could see Tannehill doing what he does and managing the game and dinking and dunking his way down the field. Traylon Burks is ascending now. I definitely I think it's a shocker pick because we know how great Burrow's been, but no Joe Mixon. So that and a banged up Jamar Chase, if Chase even comes back, I think it's
Yeah,
like
I don't think he's
50-50
active.
right
I
now.
think he has like 2 weeks left still or something. But so he's
Yeah,
missing his main target while Tennessee
yeah,
is remaining pretty healthy. And I
yeah,
mean, like you said, 1.5 points. I also have Tennessee winning this.
yeah.
Brian has Tennessee winning this, and Pro Football
Wow.
Demon has Tennessee winning this and
You're
covering. So
kidding. Oh my, I definitely thought that would be like, oh, I was all ready to like have a hot take and like make the shocking pick of the day, but okay, I guess we're all riding with Tannehill and Derrick Henry, I guess.
I mean, they almost beat Kansas City. Kansas City is already a hard team to beat, and the fact that they were
Yeah,
so close and just couldn't finish it, it was
with a
very close.
backup quarterback with like 1 first down in the second half or something crazy like that. Like, yeah, David, he's back.
David
Yeah,
Morazzo, Titans are starting to roll. I mean,
they're look.
they're last
Yeah,
year too. We weren't expecting them to come up like they did, and they're doing the same thing this year. We're like, oh well, they are missing targets. They just traded AJ Brown away,
yeah,
and there's a lot going on. Ryan Tannehill's not who he used to be when he played for Miami. He's not who he was when he first started in Tennessee. But he's gaining his foot, finding ways to win, finding ways to go out there and play football, and it's working very well for them right now.
yeah. Me and Brian were actually talking about that last week because it's coaching. It's Mike Vrabel, or not last week, a couple days ago. Mike Vrabel will put his team in situations to win games because he's a phenomenal coach, and he'll continue to be a phenomenal coach. And it doesn't matter all the stuff that they have around them, all the noise and all the deficiencies. It doesn't matter. They'll always find a way to be competitive because they got Mike Vrabel back there calling or not calling plays, but manning the ship.
I feel like the Titans, when they beat Green Bay, they didn't only take out their fraud status, but they exposed the Packers. And I know we're not into the Packers yet, but they did
Yeah,
expose Green Bay, and I think that they showed that they are a real team. And so I think we're gonna see them in playoffs.
Anthony, the Lions fans, just sitting here dying, waiting to expose the Packers for frauds.
Just wait, I've been waiting years for this.
About time, dog. About time. Your
Right?
time has come. Your time has come.
So our next game, so yeah, everyone agrees with Tennessee on that one. New
Yeah.
York and Chicago. So Brian has New York covering the spread. I have New York covering the spread. What do you think?
What does Demon say?
Demon says New York, and he's our resident Jets fan, so I'm not surprised. But you're playing a bad Chicago Bears team, and so if I were you and I start Mike White, then they're going to beat the Bears, and it's not going to be
I'm keeping it.
hard.
I'm keeping it 100, man. I think Chicago's got this one. If Fields plays,
Okay, so
I
I
I'm
like
gonna
I like
make.
it when there's disagreements.
Yeah, I have an upset special here. If Fields plays, I don't see any way because I think New York is a little shook. I mean, their starting quarterback, their second overall pick bench. I know Robert Saleh is a good coach, but I mean, overcoming that
Is
kind of
he?
a
Is he though?
well, he's at least good and extremely. He's great
I'm
defensively.
starting
I
to
don't
think
think that,
his coordinators are the ones winning these games because Salah's
but
making
he
some
was,
bad decisions, especially in that
but he
last game.
was,
Airing it
but he was
out.
great with his last team. He was great with San Francisco. So
When you see your starting quarterback struggle, you have to change your game plan. You have to make some kind of adjustment on the field, and he didn't make that adjustment. He didn't make that call, and it was an awful game. Yes, defensively it was great, but they got nothing done on offense, and you have to kind of blame Saleh for that. Pro Football Demon, please do not kill me for that. But it's not looking good for them right now.
I'm so sorry, Pro Football Demon. I know you love the Jets, but I'm gonna have to pick Chicago to upset New York. And even if you give me those points, even more so, I do think Chicago will sneak a win because it's what this team has done this year. I mean, I know their record is pretty awful, but they've looked better in recent weeks. And if Fields can play, if his shoulders are not too messed up, I definitely could see Chicago pulling an upset. And I'm looking forward to recapping that, because I feel like I that's the first one I'm on an island on. That's the first game I'm on an island on. So that'll be exciting to see what happens in that game. I'll be
Yeah, well,
watching that
hey,
one closely.
it's always fun to have at least one person disagree, so we can find out who's right. So,
Right?
no,
Yeah.
I agree that Chicago is very sneaky. You never know when they're gonna have. I mean, Justin Fields is showing that he's elite, and so we'll see where that one goes. I'm excited about that game. So, Tampa
Yeah, me
Bay.
too. It's gonna be good.
So we have a minute before halftime. We're going to go through Tampa Bay at Cleveland. So Tampa Bay is not the same team they were last year. Tom Brady is definitely not the same quarterback he's been, but he is on a streak and he is going to Cleveland. Who's going to cover in this one?
Wow, 3.5 points is such a low line. Oh
Yeah.
my goodness, that feels so disrespectful to Tampa Bay. But I mean, I know they haven't really been the guys this year, so I think I'll take Tampa Bay to win and cover. That feels like kind of a layup pick. Honestly, I know Cleveland has a decent, they've had a decent passing attack this season. Do you know if Watson's coming back for this, or is this the last game before he's back?
That's a good question.
Yeah, let's
I
figure that out.
I think he might be. I know he's practicing. I wouldn't be surprised if they didn't activate him at home against the Bucks. That would be a really good debut for him. It is hard to deny that the Buccaneers are a good football team, and we'll probably see them in playoffs. 7th best defense in the league, and you have Tom Brady, and so it's really hard to say that they won't. 10-foot wave says Brady is going to end up in the Super Bowl somehow.
Oh my God! Don't do that to us. Don't you put that evil on me, Ricky Bobby. Don't you do it. That's so funny. No,
Yeah.
I'm picking Tampa Bay to win and
Oh,
cover. I think
it looks like we hit halftime. Go ahead and finish
halftime.
your thought, and then we'll plug in.
I'm taking Tampa Bay to win and cover. I think Cleveland, watching them with my own two eyes last week, they're better than you think they are. They definitely have a lot going for them. But I think Tampa's run defense is too strong, and I know it's Brissett's swan song, so there's part of me that wants to see him go out strong, but I'm not sure. I don't see it happening. I think I'll
Okay.
take Tampa. I think Brady starts putting it together.
Bay. Brian says Tampa Bay. I say Tampa Bay, and Pro Football Demon says Tampa Bay. So we all
That
agree
feels like a
the
layup, yeah.
Buccaneers are going to beat the Cleveland Browns. So it's halftime now. So just real quick, plug in your. I know you have a Twitter. If you want to plug in, talk about that real quick. Let everyone
Yeah,
know where
sure.
to find you.
Yeah, so my name is Kevin Phillip Fox. I do some minor football analysis, mostly Bills content and silly memes at the Buffalo Trill on Twitter. So check it out. I'm expanding a little bit. I'm really thankful for Anthony and everyone at Legit Football for getting me involved because I really love talking football. It's like my passion. So this is just such a blast and so exciting to do. So check out the Buffalo Trill and more stuff on the way. And Anthony and I, we're going to keep cooking. You already know.
Of course. So you can follow at _legit football on Twitter. You can find Legit Football on TikTok and go to legitfootball.com and subscribe to our daily NFL newsletter. It is free. You get a newsletter every weekday. It's great. It's fun to read. It's 5 minutes. Doesn't take long, and you get all the NFL news that you need. All right. So we're going to go into the second half. 15 minutes is back on the clock.
Let's go.
So our next game is Jacksonville and Baltimore. So this one's fun because Brian has Jacksonville with the upset. Pro Football Demon has Jacksonville with the upset, and I have Jacksonville with the upset. What do you think? Is there an upset here?
These lines are just crazy this week. Tampa Bay -3.5, Baltimore -3.5. I feel like I'm taking crazy pills.
We got that answer. Watson's first game is against Houston.
Yeah,
Thank you, Jean-Marie Goder.
I hit the Google machine to unlock the truth there because that's just that drama is just too good to write. You couldn't even script that Watson's first game being against his old team.
It's perfect.
That's the NFL for you.
Yeah.
But I think I'm on an island over here, Anthony. But I really it's Lamar Jackson. I know he's looked very human this season, but I think I'm going to take Baltimore. Jacksonville, they're putting it together this year more so. They're definitely looking a lot better than they looked last season. I mean, oh my goodness, talk about a dumpster fire. Urban Meyer, Mamma Mia, that's the worst head coaching hire I've ever seen. But thank you, David.
All day easy pick, so he agrees with you.
Thank you,
the rest
David.
of us say this might be an upset with Jackson.
Like I said, I'm in shock that these great teams, or I mean, I guess perceived great teams, they haven't necessarily showed up as great teams this season, but Baltimore is one of those teams that at the end of the day, you got to be thinking that they're going to contend. Like it's Baltimore. They have Lamar Jackson. They have an outstanding defense. So we'll see what happens. But I'm taking Baltimore to cover that 3.5 points.
Okay. That I like I said, I like it when people differ. That way we can see the difference.
I'm standing out here alone, man.
Los Angeles Chargers at Arizona with the 4.5 spread.
Yeah, this feels like a little bit of a easier. I mean, I feel like everybody should be picking the Chargers to cover here, right? I mean, this feels
You have
like
to. You kind of have to.
right. Yeah,
They
Herbert.
almost beat the Chiefs. I mean, Brandon Staley is having issues, but Justin Herbert isn't. I think Justin Herbert is still a good quarterback. I think we could still put him in like top 10, top 5. I think
top 10.
They should be winning more, but like David Marazzo says here, Arizona is imploding, and
they are ridiculous.
If you capitalize on the implosion of your opponent, then you're going to win games. And I think that this is one that Los Angeles Chargers, they're going to cover the spread. They're going to win the game. And I feel like this is going to be a big turning point for them.
I will say I'm a little bit lower on Herbert now than I was at the start of the season. I know he's had guys hurt. I know he's had his own personal injuries, but I think Herbert is showing that he's like, I think everybody thought he would take that leap into the Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes tier. And I think we can confidently say now that he's at least a tier below that and maybe even a tier below that tier. I mean, that might be a hot take. That might be, sipping on haterade, but I don't think he's in that, I think Justin Herbert, like you said, I think he's top 10.
Okay. So you're saying Los Angeles Chargers will win, but it's going to be more about Arizona beating themselves.
I would say so, and I think if there's any opponent to get right against, I think it's these Cardinals. I mean, they've been so
definitely a game to win. If the Chargers do not win this game, I don't think they're going very far.
There's a lot of work to be done.
Jay Moritz, 58, LA Chargers for the win. Herbert, it's maturing as a quarterback from my point of view.
Yeah,
he's still young. He's still fairly new in the league.
Yeah, I've been waiting for him to have that. Yeah, I've just been waiting for him to have that next step, and I feel like I haven't seen it.
Pro Football Demon also says the Chargers. So Seattle and Las Vegas. So Las Vegas is just playing really bad football. And I think we put them in, 29th in our power rankings.
Yeah.
So they beat the Broncos, but that's not saying much. It's right. The Broncos, you're beating a bad team. You're beating Russell Wilson. 5 years ago, that would sound impressive, but it doesn't anymore. So what do you think about the Raiders and the Seahawks? Because the Seahawks are still doing really good. Geno Smith has not written back, not going to anytime soon. Kenneth Walker in his rookie year is really showing up and showing what he's capable of.
Yeah, I'm going Seattle all the way here. I love what Geno's done this year. It's really exciting for the NFL to have such a great comeback story so late in his career. Vegas, yeah, I mean, Derek Carr's one of those middle of the road Kirk Cousins style quarterbacks who can win in the right circumstances. And I just don't think this season the circumstances are right. I'm inclined to believe in Josh McDaniels at some point down the road, but this season, I mean, you got to be disappointed if you're a Raiders fan at the output from the team and from Josh McDaniels in his first season, in my opinion.
Oh, for sure. I mean, even with Devontae Adams coming into Las Vegas, there was talks of being a contender, and that got wiped off real fast. And I think that I think this is going to be another rebuild for them, a rebuild season. I think they're going to have to focus on next year now. Seattle definitely has this one. I think they're going to make playoffs. We're probably going to see them in the postseason. So
is that the pick for all four?
Yeah, we're all picking it. I'm picking Seattle. Pro Football Demon and Brian, we're all picking Seattle. It's unanimous. So San Francisco and New Orleans is our next game, 9.5. So yeah, San Francisco just blew out Arizona in Mexico City. Can they do the same with New Orleans?
I'm gonna say yes. I'm gonna say 9.5 is just right for me. That's just low enough for me to partake. I definitely think that Jimmy Handsome, he's putting it together. He's on another level this season, which is really exciting because people have seen that potential in him for years, and he's taken a team to the Super Bowl. He's been to the NFC Championship the last couple of years. Like he's been slept on so much, and I know a lot is right around him in San Francisco, but there's a lot to be said for just not making the big mistake. There's a lot to be said for just getting your team that far. So yeah, I would take San Francisco easily. I would love to see Debo get going a little bit. I think they've been underutilizing Debo this season, which is maybe a good thing for like his health and his sustainability in the playoffs. But I would like to see Debo get going in this game. That's my shot in the dark. Give me Guapo.
And me guapo. So
That's great.
speaking of San Francisco, have you heard about the trade rumors for Jimmy G?
In the offseason, what's the
So
buzz?
San Francisco might trade Jimmy G to keep Trey Lance as their starter because he's young, because he's more athletic than Jimmy G is. So Jimmy he's rumored to go to like the Jets or the Packers if Aaron Rodgers leaves, and all these teams that need a quarterback, because Jimmy G is a reliable quarterback, but San Francisco has their
Wow.
franchise quarterback. It's not him.
Wow.
So we won't get in on that. We'll get that on more of the on one of the other shows.
Yeah,
But
you're
I
gonna have
also
to
have
fly-
San Francisco here.
Yeah, that's a conversation we have to have. But yeah, we gotta grind on these picks.
So I picked San Francisco. Brian picked San Francisco. You picked San Francisco, and Pro Football Demon picked San Francisco.
Beautiful.
Oh, wait.
4 for
Actually,
4.
I think I was wrong. He picked New Orleans to cover.
Who did?
Pro Football Demon did.
Demon. You're
So
a demon for that.
So he has San Francisco winning, but New Orleans covering.
There you go. Okay. That's still.
Which, I mean, 9.5 is a pretty high, and they just beat the Rams, and that's not saying much, but they just beat the Rams. 9.5 is a high spread, so I could see New Orleans covering, but I'm still going with 49ers. I think they're going to win by at least 10.
I think 9.5 is the sweet spot in that game. I'll take it. I'll take the.
Okay.
Take the Niners.
David Marazzo says he's a free agent, so he won't be being traded, but he will be on a different team next year.
He will be courted. He will be courted like the belle of the ball. He will be. I'm very excited to see where he ends up. And I mean, him without the regime around him, the Shanahan, the backs, the defense. It'll be really fun to see. I think he's got some stuff. He's got some swag. I mean, he's not the most athletically gifted quarterback, but he does enough to help teams win games and at least help them not lose games. So I think that goes a long way.
I agree. So staying in the NFC West, Kansas City takes on the Los Angeles Rams, but the spread is 14.5.
I think if the spread was 20.5, I would still take Kansas City.
Oh,
the Rams,
okay.
The Rams are garbage, man. I'm so sorry if anybody's a Rams fan in here. They're garbage. Stafford's your boy. He got his ring, man.
He got his ring. He can go retire now. Go play on the golf course.
I think he might have one more year in him, one more run in him. But I think it's safe to say that this year they're paying the piper, and that's okay. They got the ring. Every fan base that doesn't have a ring would do anything for that ring. I'd give a pinky toe for sure.
They have no first round picks. They have all veteran players. They have their all-star team, but that all-star team is slowly falling apart. And so they're going back into rebuild season in the next few years, and it's going to be tough for Sean, but you can't bet against Sean McVay though. And I know Cooper Kupp's out still, but you still have Van Jefferson, and I mean
Sean McVay can't go out there and stop Patrick Mahomes.
It's true.
Throw a bunch of I respect the Rams organization.
Tough waves. The Rams are hurt. The practice squad team definitely taking KC2. Chiefs by 21. David Marazzo says Chiefs by 30. We all agree on the Chiefs covering the 14.5 spread, which is I have Los Angeles covering the spread.
No,
and that's because it's so hard to bet against such a high spread when it's still a professional league. These are still professional football players on that field.
I understand.
And with a spread that high, even 14 points will cover. That's still 2 possessions. I think Kansas City will beat by 2 possessions, but I don't think they're going to win over 14.5.
I totally understand. I got to go the other way, but I understand what you mean. That's a good point. 14.5, you're entering that kind of like crazy territory where it's like, wow, things have to go right in this game,
and things have to go wrong for the Rams.
Yeah.
For it to be over 14.5, I mean, that's like
unless it's a backdoor cover, which unfortunately those happen all the time. Those lateral plays, Anthony, I was hoping for a lateral fumble 6 on that last Lions kick return because those lateral plays give you those backdoor covers all the time. So I don't see the Rams keeping up at all. But I respect the logic in the pick.
So our next game, we have 3.5 minutes left.
Sweet, let's crush it.
Tempo Wave said 14.5 sounds like a college football spread.
Exactly. That's exactly what I was thinking.
It's so hard to bet against a 14.5 spread. Philadelphia and Green Bay. So we were just talking about the Packers and how they're slowly falling apart. Philadelphia is on top of things. I have Philadelphia here. What do you think?
Yeah, I think this is one that I'm gonna put a little. If I had, if I was cut from something stronger, if I had my iron underpants with me, that's a fantasy footballer's line. I might pick the Packers to cover this because the Phillies' run defense has been exposed, and I think Green Bay has an outstanding rushing attack. So I could definitely see this game swinging in the direction where Rodgers just does enough, and Aaron Jones gets going, and maybe AJ Dillon has a breakout game. What a bust he's been. I'm so sorry to the AJ Dillon fantasy drafters. RIP to your seasons, most likely. But I could definitely see. But I think I'm gonna go Philly -6.5 with everything that they've been putting together this season. Hurts, definitely MVP candidate. Definitely, doing what he needs to do this season, which is awesome to see because I love those stories where people don't think they're going to pan out and then they pan out. Hurts is a beautiful thing. Sirianni jumping up on the bench and saying, "This is for Frank Reich," against the Colts. That warmed my heart because I love Frank Reich. I thought he got done dirty by the Colts. So Philly's got some juice right now. I think I'm going to take Philly to cover, even though I see a path to a Green Bay backdoor cover.
I also have Philadelphia covering. Brian has Philadelphia covering, and Pro Football Demon has Green Bay covering.
There you go.
So
See,
Pro Football
you're stronger
Demon
than
does
me.
differ. And I kind of want to know his reasoning now. I might have to shoot him a text.
Yeah, we need a tweet.
Curious.
We need a Pro Football Demon.
So
we need a statement.
We were just talking about the spread and how it's 14.5 with Los Angeles. 6.5 is under one touchdown.
Yeah.
With the extra point. And
that's what I'm saying.
That's still, it's not high, but it's not low. But for Philadelphia, that's still a pretty competitive spread. So I still have Philadelphia covering. I think they're really connecting.
Yeah, I thought Philly last week was a layup -7 against Indianapolis, and that bet burned me. I had to pay out some bets because they won by 1 point. So they're, like I said, they're definitely not. They're not as bulletproof as they seemed early in the season. But the undefeated teams who last like 10 games, they never are. It's always waiting for the shoe to drop.
For sure.
And now they're going to regress to the mean. And I think Philly's still going to end up being a top 2 team in the NFC, maybe even the 1 seed. But we'll see. Last pick. Let's go.
About
we gotta
30
run
seconds
it.
left. Indianapolis and Pittsburgh, 2.5 points. That's less than a field goal. Who's covering
Indy all day?
So Brian has Indianapolis covering. I have Indianapolis covering. Pro Football Demon has Pittsburgh covering by 2.5.
He's being a demon today.
And so yeah. I mean, no, I like the guts. Statement. He has guts, and I like that.
He's got guts.
So 3 Indianapolis, 1 Pittsburgh. All right. So we're almost done. 3, 2, 1, and that is it for this. The pitch show is officially over. Of course, yeah. Any last thoughts? It's post game. Get into the locker room, talk to your players.
Matt Ryan coming back. The Colts been looking pretty competent lately, and I still just have so many. Pittsburgh's offense still has so many red flags for me. I think their defense will keep them in the game, but I got Colts. Sorry, I just had to get that. I had to fire that shot.
Of course. Yeah, we're in post game now. So any last thoughts? Just to shoot.
Dude, last thoughts. Shout out to you for getting all your picks against the spread right yesterday. I mean, I haven't had a chance to go back and check the tape, but that's what you told me. So I'm gonna trust you, and I'm proud of you. That's a good turkey day for you. You're looking strong.
Other than the Lions losing, I think it was a good.
And that's what I wanted to bring up.
Super Bowl contenders.
Unbelievable guts from the Lions, and they did it all game. I mean, 4th down going for it. Thank you, David. You're the man,
thank you
dude.
for coming on.
They had unbelievable guts, and some bad clock management really cost the Lions, in my opinion. I felt like Campbell had a couple plays he might want back, or timeout decisions he might want back, but the Bills showed why they're Super Bowl contenders. You got to win ugly too. You can't just win the blowouts, the bowl races. You got to get in there with those scrappy, teams that you're supposed to beat, and you gotta still show up and get the dub. So I'm happy to see it. I'm not surprised by the Giants being that close, and I'm not surprised by the Vikings winning. I think that was what I predicted as well. But that first game, I got wrong because I thought Buffalo would cover.
Oh
Silly
yeah.
me.
Okay.
Silly me.
I know. I think the Lions are for real. Tony Romo said it. I think the Lions are for real now. So,
I agree.
before anything, it does say on the title that we're going to talk a little bit about player props. Name one
Oh, let's
player
go.
prop that you are super confident on this week. Name like two. Actually name three. Name three.
I'll name three. I haven't had a chance to go super deep into it. You obviously know, because we do Sleeper together. We're the biggest degenerates in the world. We can't help ourselves with those freaking over/under parlays. We can't.
I lost last night.
We can't help ourselves. Oh, if Pollard had 3 more rushing yards, I would have made a couple.
No way. See, that's why it's so tough.
It's so
I
annoying.
have Derrick Henry hitting his over again. I have Patrick Mahomes hitting his receptions over for receptions.
Completions.
And I have Jimmy Garoppolo hitting his over. Those are my props.
I'll say
I'm not very confident, so don't
Yeah.
go betting hundreds of dollars on that. But those are my player props for this week.
Locks for me. I'm gonna go out on a super far limb and say Henry scores a touchdown. I'm gonna go super far on a limb and say Kelsey scores a touchdown. And I'm gonna say that if there's a line for who remind me again Aaron Jones rushing yards. That's a sleeper pick. That's a deep cut.
Rushing yards. Okay.
Because it's Philly and because that's gonna be their game plan. That's what Green Bay hasn't strayed from the run all year. They're running in games they shouldn't be. Their situational football is awful. But it'll be really interesting to see if Jones can get the over. But I'm confident that he will.
All right. I like the confidence. So that's
it
for today. Thank you, everybody who joined for our pick show. Good luck on your picks, bets, parlays, spreads, everything. Good luck. And thank you for watching 30 minutes of football.
That's spicy. Jimmy Garoppolo on there could be a benefit, but have they kind of burned that bridge?
I will say this. Gardner Minshew is the best backup in the NFL.
I love Gardner.